What if you could unlock your $1 million frequency that manifests all your desires? When I started my soul business, I was trying all the strategies, but nothing was working until this very thing that I did that allowed me to unlock that frequency and energy that created that ripple effect in abundance, in success, in my YouTube going viral. So today, I'm going to share that with you, the nervous system fix that unlocked my $1 million frequency. Most people avoid this very thing that requires in order to embody that energy and frequency that manifest $1 million, because before money shows up in your bank account, your energy and vibration has to match that. So before I share with you the steps, you must understand this, because without it, the steps would make no sense. What I want you to understand, as a human being, our body has nerve and nervous system throughout our body. And that nervous system is operating in the way we feel, the way we think, the way we operate. So our nervous system is taking the information with our thinking, with our feeling, and it is dysregulating or regulating based on that. So ultimately, what I want you to understand, a nervous system that lived in survival all its life, it will repel joy, happiness, wealth, and abundance. It will repel it because it is comfortable in survival. It is comfortable in pain and chaos. And that nervous system, by the way, I'm just showing what the nervous system looks like, although it doesn't look like that, but that's my drawing. So the nervous system that is living in survival, it is in contraction. It is not open. It is living in that feeling that I am not enough, I am not worthy. And this is the biggest thing with people when they go for bigger dream or bigger opportunities or millions of dollars, they never look at how they actually feel. Because a nervous system that operates in fear, it will manifest fear. Your nervous system is equal your frequency, your energy, because your nervous system dictates what capacity you have. So people who are always triggered, who are always angry, who are always getting offended, they are in contraction. They operate from contraction. What does that say? That says they have no space. Mentally, emotionally, energetically, they have no space in their nervous system to be open. Because the most smallest thing can affect them. They get triggered easily, they get angry easily, they feel sad easily. So their nervous system has no capacity to expand, no capacity to receive. It is so dysregulated that it cannot allow anything in. You can't even have conversation with them. I used to know people, even in my family, that even if I am laughing, they would be offended. They would be offended by my laugh or my smile. They would get triggered by that. So can you imagine that nervous system? Would that allow happiness? Would that allow love? Would that allow abundance? Absolutely not, because they are offended. They are getting angry. They are contracting, because anger or offense or sadness, it is a sign that you are in contraction. It is contracting. So when something is contracting, it cannot be open. It is closed. It is dysregulated. And that's what our nervous system is. The nervous system needs to feel safe in order to be open, in order to receive. Because whatever we are open for, that's what we receive. So fear, shame, guilt, resentment, doubt, anger, it is all contraction. It is all creating contraction. And contraction creates the lack frequency, lack energy. And that's how whether you look at from neuroscience perspective, psychology, or vibrationally, the universal laws, you would realize they all work together. They all work together. There's no separation from it. So this is why the law of vibration say whatever you are vibrating, that's what you are going to manifest. Whatever you are vibrating. It is such a powerful thing to really internalize and realize whatever you are vibrating. And how do you know what you're vibrating? Based on how you are feeling on a daily basis. So if somebody is operating in shame, guilt, fear, they are operating in lack. That's their vibration. They are vibrating lack frequency. The lack frequency creates more lack. The lack frequency says that I am not worthy, I am not enough, and it's very hard to make money, it's very hard to be successful, then I am going to keep living in that reality of lack because money is not easy. It requires a lot of work, it requires hard work. And that keeps vibrating that energy and frequency, and that's what they keep attracting. They attract opportunities that are extremely difficult and hard. They attract people who are extremely difficult and hard. They attract relationships that are extremely toxic and manipulative because they are operating from lack. They believe everything has to be hard. Love needs to be hard, abundance needs to be hard, money needs to be hard, everything needs to be challenging, difficult. Suffering, that's another belief that people hold, that I need to suffer in order to have it all. In order to manifest, I must suffer. I must go through pain before I can have joy, before I can have peace, before I can have love, before I can be millionaire. I must go through pain. So that belief will manifest a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And that becomes the magnet, that would become the attraction point for that person to have everything so challenging. Their car breaks down, their day starts badly, their meetings are being missed, they are not signing up clients, they are operating from this idea that they don't have enough, they will never have enough. And that keeps manifesting itself. We are always manifesting, either the good or the bad. We are always manifesting the good or the bad. The good, when we manifest, most people are consciously manifesting. They are consciously shifting their identity, consciously shifting their state of being that will manifest the goodness. But a lot of people are manifesting unconsciously. The sadness, the suffering, the pain, the difficulties, the challenge, that is unconscious manifestation. They don't know that they are doing it, but their thinking, their feeling, their emotions, their energy all speaks pain, difficult, hard, challenging. And that's what happens. Another example for contraction that is really, really key to understand deeply what contraction is so that you understand how it works. It's really important to understand what contraction is so that you stop contracting, because that is required in order to open your frequency and energy for $1 million. So let me give you an example. Somebody who is social, who enjoys socializing, and they go to social events and they meet people. They experience when they are socializing, people are not nice. People are unkind. People are rude. People are mean. Right? They are experiencing that. So that person goes and they feel bad, they don't feel good, they feel unhappy, they feel sad, they feel like why this person is mean to me, why people are not nice to me, and they keep having the similar experiences. People are unkind, people are not nice. So they start feeling contracted, and then one day they decide, I'm not going to go to any events. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to meet people because they're mean, they're unkind, they're not good. So I'm going to stop socializing. I'm going to stay at home. I'm going to isolate myself. And when they make that decision, they're making from contraction because they are contracted. They feel it's not safe for me to socialize, right? That's what they're saying. People are draining, people are exhausting. I feel drained, I feel exhausted. So they move into contraction and they start living in isolation. What happens? They are vibrating a frequency that something on the outside needs to change. people on the outside needs to change in order for me to feel safe and secure. In order for me to feel happy and joyful and again start socializing again, everyone outside needs to change. What that does is that make them give their power away. That they have no power, everything else outside needs to change before they can start feeling safe. That is a contracted state of being that creates more isolation, more suffering, and more pain, because that way of being is saying the world needs to change before I feel safe. And the truth is, the world will not change if nothing internally is changing. You can go to the most remote country in the world and you will still find challenge and pain if you are operating from contraction. Even if you attract one person in that remote country, will create suffering, because the contracted state doesn't matter where you go, it is internal. It becomes magnet to attract everything you experience outside of you. That's why that person who is saying that, what they have to do, they have to shift the way they think. They have to start moving from the place, I am the one who creates my reality, the cause and effect. I will talk about that in a moment. So when they shift that something internally needs to change, that is the key. That is the biggest key in order to start regulating and expanding your nervous system, is to expose yourself in an environment without contraction. How can you remain in expansion even in challenge? How can you remain in expansion even when people are mean? How can you remain in expansion even if reality is showing things are going wrong? How can you remain in expansion? That is the key to manifest higher level of wealth and abundance. That is the key. Most people, they give up. Most people, they contract and they leave. Whether that is business, whether that is relationship, whether that is love, they leave. They say, no, it's not. I'm going to leave. And I'm not going to, I cannot tolerate that. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. The truth is, you have to remain in expansion. So you may say, well, I don't want to meet people who are unkind and mean. People will stop being mean and unkind when you stop being mean and unkind to yourself, because everything is a reflection of the inside. So when somebody is mean to you or unkind to you, the reason I'm giving that example, because money is energy, wealth is energy, and it's all created through our own energy and emotions, and your emotion dictates your reality. When somebody is being mean to you, you must ask yourself, where have I been mean to myself? Where have I been unkind to myself? Where have I been rejecting myself? Where have I been abandoning myself? What parts of me feels abandoned, rejected? What parts of me that I dislike? Because everything is reflection of your own inner state. How you perceive yourself, how you see yourself, and that will be reflected on the people who you meet. They are only giving you a feedback of how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself. They are energetic match. They are mirroring your inner state of being. So every time somebody is mean, ask yourself, where have I been mean? And with that awareness, you can choose different rooms. You can choose different networking events. You can choose different environments, right? We have a choice. That's how we remain expansion. When we are in expansion, something doesn't feel aligned, we move to different room. We don't isolate. But if that keeps repeating itself, then the question has to come from within, why it is keep repeating itself. What is in me that is magnetizing this type of experiences? And that's where the law of cause and effect comes in. The law of cause and effect says that every effect has a cause. Every effect in the world has a cause. That is the universal law. And that applies to everything and everyone. Every effect has a cause. So people being mean is an effect of the cause. The cause is the inner state of being of that person, that they are vibrating an energy that allows other people to be mean, unkind, rude, horrible, right? So that is the cause. So everything in external that we witness is an effect that is caused by our own state of being. Our state of being is causing the reality we are experiencing, the good, the bad, the ugly. Our inner state of being is manifesting, mirroring that. This is why we cannot blame other people for our own pain. Because when we are in blame, we are in separation from the higher truth of this law of cause and effect. This is going to keep you in that blame. That is going to keep you in lack. Because whenever we blame somebody else for our own challenges, we are giving our power to somebody else. We say that they need to change in order for me to feel good. That is creating that separation from your own power, your divine essence, your truth, your light. It is creating separation from that. That I don't have a power, this person needs to change. This person needs to apologize. And if they don't see it, if they don't realize it, then that means I'm going to stay in that contraction. I'm going to stay in that lag. I'm going to keep blaming them. Nothing will change. I will stay stuck in the same pattern and the same loop and the same programming without manifesting the biggest dream and desires. This is why money, wealth, abundance, it is all energy. Financial freedom, frequency, it is all energetic game. It is all energetic way of being. Because the more we let go of these things, the more we get into the light, the more we get into the love, the more abundance we create easily and effortlessly. The ease comes from that state of being. So the law of cause and effect, people who are always in blame or complain or they are not unhappy and sad, they feel that they are nothing. The energy of nothing. I am nothing, I'm no one, right? They are moving from that energy. But people who are in abundant and light and love and joy, they're operating from I am everything. I am the universe. I create my own reality. I am the co-creator of my life. I am the co-creator of my world. And that is the difference. The nothingness is always blaming other. There's something outside of me needs to change in order for me to feel happy. The everythingness is that I am the one who creates. I am the one who change. I am the one, I take full responsibility of my own life. I am the main character of my own life. And when you move from that state, you are becoming lighter and lighter in your energy. You are magnetizing higher state. You are magnetizing higher level of being. You are magnetizing wealth, abundance. You are magnetizing love. You are magnetizing ease, peace, joy. And that is the difference. So we have to understand the shame, fear, guilt. There are many ways of doing it, but the most powerful way that I found that works on a permanent basis, that breaks complete those limitation of shame, guilt, unworthiness, not enoughness, is doing deeper core energy work that I do with my clients that shifts them from a cellular level, from an energetic level, emotional level, subconscious level. They really change. Their nervous system really gets regulated because this wounding of unworthiness, shame, guilt, doubt, fear, resentment, anger, all of that gets released from the core. And when we release something from the core, from the root, it shifts permanently. By the way, if you want to work with me, you can click the link below to apply for my mentoring, and where I take you deeper into shifting that identity, regulating that nervous system to move into wealth and abundance on a permanent basis. Not just manifesting from the mind, not just using manifesting tools or techniques, but actually permanent change, permanent shift. And that's what most people avoid. They don't want to do this. They want to just affirm, they just want to meditate, they just want to manifestation techniques that is on surface. But if the root doesn't change, nothing happens. You can keep affirming, but nothing will change. And if you've tried affirmations or if you've tried different techniques of changing your wealth financial reality, but nothing is changing, permanently, then because there's a inner wound that you have been carrying that are dictating the reality that you're experiencing. And that wounding needs to release permanently. Inner child healing or generational healing, or there's so many different level. That's why when I work with my clients, I go deeper. Generational, ancestral, inner child work, whatever that is, it all releases from the root. And that's why my clients experience quantum leaps. One of my clients doubled her income in 1 week. And that is the power of the shift and the change that we make, permanent changes. And that regulates the nervous system because we are no longer operating from shame. We are no longer operating from guilt. We are no longer operating from fear. We start operating from higher level of being. We open the capacity for nervous system. So that's that. So expansion, I want to talk about this. Expansion is something that, like I said, regardless of the challenge, you must stay expanded. How can you remain expanded without beating yourself, without rejecting you, without feeling terrible about you, without feeling unworthy? How can you remain in expansion knowing that everything is always working out, knowing things are going to shift, knowing that you are going to quantum leap? Your challenge is actually a sign that you are quantum leaping. How can you move into that? That always comes from your way of thinking and your way of feeling. When somebody is in expansion, regardless of the challenge, they are in joy, they are in abundant, because abundance is a frequency that we create. You create that frequency within you. So people who attract, magnetize wealth easily, they are the one creating that state of abundance within them. You must feel abundant before you experience abundance. So that frequency is created through you. So you have to sit with yourself and really see what are the things you think about, what are the feeling you have. And until you change that, and that's why the deeper work required, right? Why we need to do the deeper work, so you become lighter. You start operating in joy, operating in love, operating in abundance, operating in ease. And when you do that, you are in expansion. I actually really, the reason why my frequency shifted so powerfully, because I stopped looking at my reality. I stopped identifying with pain. I stopped identifying with challenges. Doesn't matter what was going on in my reality, I remain in abundance. I remain in expansion. I ignored my reality fully. And that kept me in that state of being, because I am moving from that idea that I am a millionaire, I am wealthy and abundant. And from that idea, from that state of being, I started creating the content. I started attracting clients from that state of being. From the state of being, I am already abundant regardless of the circumstances. I did not buy into any of my circumstances. I kept myself in that state of being of wealth. I am wealthy. I don't need permission from other people or a bank account to say that I'm wealthy. I am wealthy. I decide, I choose. I make that decision within my being. I do not give permission to anything else to decide it for me. Whether that is my bank account, whether that is people, no one. I create my life. I'm the cause of my effect, right? I am the cause. So when I become the cause of my effect, I must feel that abundance, that wealth within my being in order to magnetize that into my reality. Most people operate from, I have to see it in order to feel it. I operate from, I have to feel it and then I will see it. I have to feel it. I have to operate from it and then I will experience it. So that is an inner state of being that is magnetizing the wealth, that is magnetizing abundance, that is attracting the right clients, because I am the one who creates the abundance frequency within myself. And most people live in that shame. And I used to be that. I used to live in shame that if I say things like that, people will judge me, people will, hate me, or people will kind of feel like I'm flashy or I'm trying to show off and all of that. These were all my own judgment that I had on myself. But I now own it. I own the fact that I operate from wealth regardless of what I see on the external reality, regardless. I'm never going to shame myself for feeling abundant. I will remain in that frequency. And the reality will change. Reality has changed. Reality has shifted. Things have moved so fast. Things start shifting so rapidly. My Instagram reaching over 10 million people. Just like that, in a month, 10 million people, right? Because the identity, the frequency, I create millions from within. So when I saw millions of people seeing my videos on Instagram, what happened? I was like, okay, that is a confirmation that I'm operating from $1 million frequency. This is a sign. This is a sign, right? This is how I connect the dots. I operate from that first, and then the reality showed me millions of people watching my videos. And then what happened? I confirmed that. That is a confirmation. So I confirm based on what serves me. Anything that does not serve me, I do not use that. I ignore that. I confirm based on what is serving me, what is making me feel that I am $1 million frequency. So this is where you start operating expansion. Most people would contract. As soon as money start going down, they start contracting. As soon as their bank account like going down and down, they start contracting. No, you remain in expansion regardless. You remain in that energy. If you want millions or billions, you must remain in that energy. Do you realize how many millionaires and billionaires, they are doing deals of millions of dollars every single day? They are taking that courageous, bold steps to invest. They're not holding that money in the bank account. They are making courageous step to make deals and investments on a bigger, higher level. If they operate from contraction, they are going to lose their money. So they are going to sabotage that money. In order to create more wealth, you must remain in expansion. You must move from that idea that if I invest $1 million in this, it will create 20 million or 30 million or 100 million. From that idea, that is expansive idea. This is why I don't believe in anything expensive. I believe in everything is expansive. Everything is expansive. These days, a lot of people getting into that mindset of everything is becoming expensive. That is a limiting idea. That is a lack frequency. Everything is expensive. Nothing is expensive. Everything is expansive. So let me give you an example for that. 100 years ago, something that you are buying today for $20 or $50, 100 years ago, that was 50 cents. Now become $50 or $20. So that person 100 years ago would think that that $50 is expensive for that thing. But today you would not think that because your consciousness has shifted. You're like, oh, $50 is cheap. $20 is cheap, right? But for that person 100 years ago, that is expensive. But it's not expensive, expansive, because the consciousness of the world is shifting, everything expanding. So the money is a reflection of that expansion. So really allow yourself to really seep into that idea, because the more you will feel things are expensive, things are challenging, more you are magnetizing that in your life. More challenge, more expensive things, right? So really understand that. So now I want to really give you steps to shift into $1 million frequency. These are the key steps in order to shift. Number one is higher level of self-worth. Higher level of worthiness, that self-worth, is what creates that higher level of wealth. Because if you do not feel worthy, you cannot magnetize abundance, because abundance really means deep worthiness of receiving that amount of money. And that's why the deeper work is required. The deeper work is required in order to move into higher level of self-worth. Your self-worth dictates the opportunities, the money that you magnetize. So your self-worth is required. And that's why you must release any type of wounding around feeling worthy. Any type of wounding that says that you are not worth, you are not enough. You must release that on a permanent basis in order to create that higher level of self-worth. The second one is radical self-belief. This is so good. This is the most powerful thing you can do. The radical self belief, the conviction within yourself, how much conviction you have in your own power, your talent, your gift, your work, whatever you do. In order to create millions, you must have a vessel to create million. And in order to create the vessel for million, you must have radical self-belief that what I do, it is worth millions of dollars. It is worth what I do. And if that radical self of belief is missing, you will not create that vessel. You will remain in doubt, you will remain in fear, and you will remain in that state. Radical self belief says everything that I touch becomes gold. That is a radical self belief. People will call it delusional, but if you believe truly that everything you touch becomes gold, you have so much worthiness, so much belief in your gift, your talent, your being, your frequency, your energy, you will manifest that level of wealth, that level of abundance. So when I started my business, I started saying, I want to be paid for my frequency. I want to be paid for my energy. This is the work. My energy and frequency is what people pay me for. That's what they pay me for. And I started witnessing that. Every client, every person that came to me, they said, I love your energy. I love your frequency. I just want to be in your energy. And that was me co-creating that idea, the radical self-belief in myself. I came from a lot of self-doubt, a lot of unworthiness, lack of self-esteem, even though I worked for investment banks, but I had no self-belief. I was in fear, I was in unworthiness. And for me to move into that radical self-belief, and the reason I did not have a lot of self-belief because of my past, if you don't know my story, I went through really traumatic marriage when I was 16, got divorced at 21. I actually ran away from their house at 20. So it was a horrible experience. But that created a lot of shame, a lot of unworthiness, low self-esteem, like I felt broken and damaged in some ways. So I came from that state of being with chronic PTSD to moving into that radical self-belief. And that radical self-belief have created whatever I'm experiencing with clients, with my work, reaching so many millions of people worldwide because the radical self-belief in the work that I do. So that's what you need to change. So if there's a doubt, if there's fear, we must release it, we must change it, we must remove it fully in order to create that radical self-belief in you, because you are unique, you are gifted. And if you are not realizing that, there's something within you that is telling you otherwise. And that what needs to be released in order to shift yourself, expand your income ceiling, create that revenue that is aligned with your own self-image and self-belief. The third one is abundant thinking. This is a unique one. I don't think anyone talks about that. But your thinking creates your feeling, and your feeling manifests whatever you're feeling, right? So having that abundant thinking, and this is hard for people. This is difficult one because a lot of people are always thinking of the bad thing, the worst case scenario, terrible things, horrible thing, live in fear. Most people are living in fear, living in scarcity. And that scarcity and fear manifests itself in their reality every single time. Shifting into that abundant thinking, the way of thinking. How can you shift into that abundant thinking? By tapping into your power, by tapping into that higher version of you, by tapping into that vision that you have of your life. What is the vision of your life that you have? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Really going deeper into that. Okay, this is the life I desire. Where am I? What am I doing? Who is around me? What kind of house? What kind of place? Right? When you tap into that and you start operating from that idea, you are operating from abundance. But most people do it for like 30 minutes or 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they go about their days. Manifestation, abundance is your state of being. You must remain in that 24/7, not for 5 minutes when you're visualizing or meditating. That is a state of being you should remain in 24/7, because that is the reality you want to observe, right? You want to manifest millions. You want to have freedom. You want to have ease. So you must remain in that 24/7, because that is your desire. Most people, they reject their own desire. They do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, and then they forget about it. They start getting into their challenges and difficulties and pain. They start moving from that. And they forget about who they want to be, where they want to go. But remaining in that identity, that state of being in abundance, because you want to live in abundance in order to create more abundance. So live in abundance through your thinking, your mind. Your mind is what creates it. Your mind gives that information to your body. Your body feels it, whatever information is going here. Your body feels it, and then it manifests it. And that's where the nervous system kind of contraction or expansion happens. Because what you're feeding here, whatever you're feeding here, it goes into your body. So feed abundance, feed ease, feed peace, feed love. That's what you need to feed here. Anything that does not feed love, joy, then you have to let it go. Anything that is creating that might be watching psychological thrillers or murders or action movies, you need to might let go, because that really shapes your thinking. That creates more fear. Everything in the world is programming you, but you have a choice what you allow to program you, what you allow. I do not have TV in my house since 2017. I made a decision in 2017, I will never have a TV. I stopped having a TV then. And I wasn't in this work then. I had my spiritual awakening in 2019. So before even that, I made a decision. I don't want to watch news. I don't want to have a TV in my house. That decision was the best decision I ever made. That was one of the first bold, courageous step I took. People were laughing at me. My friends were like, what's wrong with you? Like, everyone has a TV. Why don't you have a TV? I was like, I don't want a TV, because I wanted to choose what programs me, what creates my identity, the cause and effect. I wanted to be a cause for an effect that is aligned with who I am becoming, who I am being. So I made that decision. And that decision, again, radical self-belief, higher level of self-worth, right? Is making that decision. Sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, challenging decision to move into that level of being. So you must be open to that. Whenever we ask bigger things from universe gives us that challenge so that we release it. We move into the higher level of being. So things are going difficult is only a sign that you are quantum leaping. So really allowing yourself to move into that energy. So this is what allows you. Nervous system regulates when you're in expansion, and $1 million frequency is created when you have higher level of self-worth, radical self-belief, and abundant thinking. When you can have all of that by releasing anything that is holding you back, then you are operating from $1 million frequency. And if you would like me to help you to move into that frequency and energy in a shortest amount of time, to release anything that is not serving you, that is stopping your growth, your financial reality, if you want to move into that frequency and energy, then you can click the link below to apply for my mentoring and move into that energy faster to make 2026 your most wealthier year. With that, like this video if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and may the light in me reaches the light in you.